Hey guys, welcome back to Layout. So today I've got another layout update for you. This is number 16, and I know there was some confusion with the numbers. I mixed up some of the numbers, but I went back. I had renamed some videos incorrectly. So this is actually number 16. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. I've got a few things that I've done that I just kind of want to give you guys a quick look at. Let's just take a look at this first, just because it just activated. I've added some indicator lights for my infrared sensors on my Azatrax boards. So you can see that when they are going straight, they are green. And if I trip the infrared sensor, they turn red. And that's when they go to diverging. And if I just trip that back in a second here, there it goes. It trips and goes back. So that's just an indicator. This left one is for the bottom. This right one is for the top. Little error there I'll have to patch up. This isn't my final fascia anyway. But I've also added the switch that can override. So instead of waving my hand over the infrared sensor, I can just flip the switch and it changes the direction. Moving along, we actually have 3 more switches. They're not exactly as straight as I'd like, but it works okay. We have the original one that I had, which I just added an LED indicator. This is for the stall track in my engine shed. And once I trigger that down, you can see the headlight turns on and the sound starts up. And then we've got the 2 other stall tracks here, which is the same thing. This is just so that not all my locomotives start. I know you can change some CVs to stop that from happening, but I prefer just having full control over power to my stall tracks. Speaking of stall tracks, I've added some details, and as you can see, I just painted them black and lightly glued them down. They're looking pretty good. I wasn't a huge fan of this kit, but I wanted to do something, and I'm still really new to making kits. So with a little bit of perseverance, I was able to get these done and paint them black. For reference, this is the Stuart Classics, the diesel service facilities, which comes with fuel, water, and sand. I picked this up when I made my big Walthers order, and everything looked good, but once I got it apart and started working on it, it was a little harder than I expected. I had to break out the jeweler's drill and some super glue and get things together, but it actually came out pretty good. I was going to put it against here, but it ended up fitting between the stall tracks without any problems. I tested with all of my locomotives, and everything is fine. So I think that's really neat. I think it looks cool. Definitely brings a little more detail into the yard in front of the engine shed. Apart from that, not much has changed. I have some plans to replace some switches and do some work on the layout. I've decided that I'm going to go back to an original plan that I had, which is adding a right-hand Pico turnout here, and the diverging route would actually follow this current spur, but I would have a small straight track which would go up into the building, and that would be just another place for goods to be dropped off, or something like resources that the industry needs, or just another shipping track, something like that. And I can utilize a small platform or a team track style setup there to load and unload goods. So I think that's going to be really neat. I'll have to paint the track again and rip some of this up, which is fine. It looks like I might have gotten a little bit lucky and should be able to just cut it in. I may have to loosen this up and angle it slightly different, but shouldn't be a big deal. When I do that, I will definitely make sure that I've got the electronic jumpers, as I've mentioned in my previous video. Other than that, that's about it. I haven't been doing too much work. I've been working quite a bit, at my job, so I haven't had a lot of free time. I did do some work on my live show last week, which was the start of those switches, which I will have to go back and see if maybe I can improve my how-to video, or make a new one, or maybe it's just good as is. But I do have at least a video on creating panels, which explains the stall tracks on and off, and I have a separate video on the programming track, which is the on, off, and then programming mode, which is up. So I may look back and just see if I can revise those at all, but I do have how-to videos. You can find those in all of my how-to videos in my playlist. That's about it. As I mentioned, I haven't really been working on the layout too much other than those things. I had already put the infrastructure in place, so wiring those weren't too big of a job. But other than cutting in a switch here, I actually want to replace the auto reversing switch under here. Unfortunately, when I was putting it in, I snapped off the lower set of ties that keep the springed point rails kind of attached, and so it'll make its way down sometimes. The tortoise actually keeps it sprung pretty well, but I've just been running into a little bit of issues. When I was actually wiring these, I bumped it and the point rails came right off at the joints, and it's difficult and not impossible. I obviously can do it, but it's difficult enough to work under there. So that's an area where I definitely want to make sure things are solid and my track work is reliable. The last point of news is I was looking into buying one of those CMX track cleaning cars, but unfortunately, I'm not sure what the radius limitations are for those. Obviously, I'm running 15-inch radius, and I don't want to spend $200 to $300 on a track cleaning car and find out it won't work and have to return it and pay shipping or a restocking fee or anything like that. So if anybody has one, I know they're out there. I know a lot of you guys use them and recommend them, which is why I want to get one. I just don't know how tight of a radius they can handle. It's not something too that I can kind of mess with the height of the trucks or coupler boxes, because it's fully brass, and obviously you've got the cleaning pad that needs to ride directly on the rails. So I think I'm gonna have to do some more research on that, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. So thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, enjoy your bacon.